Back with me again, Don Calloway, Susan Del Percio, and David Jolly. So, Susan, this mounting fury towards Schumer, I mean, it is not just coming from progressives. It's also from many centrists. Did Democrats miss a key opportunity to fight back against Trump and his agenda?
They missed the opportunity, but they lost it 2 weeks ago, Alex. That's when House Speaker Mike Johnson passed an outline of their budget bill with every single Republican vote save one. That should have been a big neon sign telling the leaders that Johnson has his conference together. So fast forward to the continuing resolution. Jeffries did a great job. Yes, he kept every member in line save one. So did Mike Johnson. The area where I think Schumer really misread the situation was Mike Johnson's ability to do that. Everyone assumed that Johnson would lose a few votes, that he need Democrat support, and it turned out he didn't need the Democrat support. So he's now Schumer facing a really tough decision. I frankly think he made the right one because the government would have shut down and the Republicans didn't have to negotiate. This would have fallen on Schumer and he would have had to go back, maybe lose ground potentially after a shutdown. And it did no good. I mean, I understand the frustration with the Democrats. I get it. But this was misread for a long time coming, not just last week.
So, David, Schumer called this temporary spending bill terrible, but he voted to advance it because it could lead to Republicans shutting down the government for many months, potentially, and then just letting Trump take actions with very little constraint. So, I mean, were they in a no-win situation, the Democrats?
No, I think this was a historic failure by Chuck Schumer, and I think there's no explanation for what he did. And here's why. We see these spending bills every year, and there's a little good and a little bad. And even if you're in the minority, you can claim a few wins. Understand, Chuck Schumer and the Democrats who voted for this are not out there saying, yes, but we got these concessions. They're not saying, yes, but we saved these certain federal programs. Yes, but we got these Democratic priorities. They got nothing. They got nothing. Their message is basically, we don't want Democrats to be a part of the story. And I think that's why everybody's irate. What do you mean you don't want Democrats to be a part of the story? Now is when you want Democrats to be a part of the story. So I think Susan's right. What does winning look like in this situation? It's hard to see for Democrats because they don't control the majority. But you've got to put up the fight and show the American people that if we say that these are not normal times, then don't behave in normal ways. And I think what Chuck Schumer did to the Democratic base is he told the base they're wrong. Chuck Schumer said to Democratic voters, you're wrong to feel these are unprecedented times. Don't worry, just trust me, I got it all worked out. And Democrats aren't having it.
Look, I don't want to start between the two of you, but David, Susan said that she thinks Chuck Schumer made the right call.
So, and I think I understand exactly where Susan is because I played this out in my mind as well, which is right now we saw that the majority of the country is against what Donald Trump is doing by a small majority. So he owns the failures. And if Democrats participated in what would have been a government shutdown, they would have been participating in part of the failure as well. So now what Chuck Schumer said is we don't want Democrats to be a part of the story. We want Donald Trump to own the failure. That's his strategy. I understand his perspective. I just strongly disagree with it.
Susan, I can see you shaking your head.
My point is what could Schumer negotiate for? Let's just say he said no and he stood up and he made that fight and he said, okay, we're going to fight. So for however many days they would have talked about the things they wanted and the government would have shut down. And Donald Trump, who doesn't give a hoot about the American public, would have told Mike Johnson to stay strong. What could Schumer have extracted from the conversation, knowing going into it, the Democrats had no message and they have been reeling for weeks?
I'm going to have Don. Don gets to jump in because he's jumping. Let's go.
Yeah, it was a dramatic failure, and it's probably the end of Chuck Schumer's political career. He should step down. he missed the moment. I understand and I really revel in the practical and tactical congressional inside conversation between David and Susan. But let's be clear about something. Chuck Schumer decided that the risk was for him to lose an opportunity at the majority 2 years from now if Democrats were blamed for shutting down government. No matter what, they're going to be blamed for shutting down government. And Chuck Schumer missed the opportunity to show the world that the Democratic Party can still have some type of say. Oh, by the way, it is awfully rich of Chuck Schumer to allow cloture in the name of institutional respect and relevance when what this bill means is $1 billion in cuts to real jobs and social services in Washington, D.C. You had actual activists, real people who are being taxed without representation at the Capitol, in the Senate Hart Building, planned protests and planned visibility in opposition, begging Chuck Schumer to not cut $1 billion in real services and existential services for his actual neighbors here in Washington, D.C. He failed that, and I'm glad that Jasmine Crockett said it out loud. He's not the person to represent the Democratic Party. He's more interested in playing a safe game that he thinks is going to matter 2 years from now. People don't remember anything other than you didn't stand up in this moment. Chuck Schumer should go.
Don, are you joining the chorus of those who think that AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, should primary him?
I'm not. I'm in the chorus of people who understand that this is an opportunity. There's an internal caucus opportunity for someone like a Cory Booker to step up and actually be a liberal lion. And there's an outside opportunity for somebody to take on Chuck Schumer. It could be Jumaane Williams, who's the public advocate in New York City. It could be AOC. But there's real opportunity, and Chuck Schumer should probably step aside.
Let me ask a different question, this one to you, Susan, about the anger over DOJ, the cuts to the government programs. I mean, it has been raging at Republican town halls across this country. It is now sparking Democrats to say we're going to hold town halls in red and swing districts because Republican leadership told members to stop meeting in person with their constituents. And here's what Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said Friday at his first stop on a national town hall tour. Here it is.
There's a responsibility in this time of chaos where elected officials need to hear what people are irritated about. And I would argue that Democratic officials should hear the primal scream that's coming from America is do something, damn it, this is wrong. But this is what your representative needs to be here for. Because if they were proud of what they did, it's very hard to find an elected official who doesn't want to be in front of a crowd or a camera. When they don't want to be, you know something's up.
Look, I'm going to need a quick answer because Nick's back in my ear. So, Susan, you first, and then Don, and then David. Are Democrats doing what this is called for? This moment are they doing what they need to be doing?
It shouldn't be Walz. It should be, for example, the congressman from Wisconsin. His name escapes me. Democrat who's been doing this. Yes, this is exactly what Democrats should be doing. Holding these town hall meetings outside of Washington. They're going to the people. That's how you win.
Okay, Don.
Those on the inside are not doing everything that they should be doing, and that's why leadership is probably going to come from somebody from the outside of established Democratic politics into the near future.
Okay, but to the other question, David.
Yes, Alex, I just spoke to a Democratic club outside of Tampa that maybe has 40 people on a monthly basis. They had over 100 people. The base is angry. They're looking for something to do. This is a moment for Democrats to mobilize.